Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I wanted to cover a story that it caught my attention maybe, I don't know, last Thursday or Friday. And when I first saw the story, I wasn't really aware. I'm like, what's going on here? I read the headlines, but I didn't really dig into it. I was just trying to figure out who this woman was that the article was talking about. I'm like, some woman's been condemned for something that she said that was apparently racist. And I'm like, I read the story, just the headline. So actually, I didn't really sit down and find out what this was all about until like a few days later. And that's when it hit me. Oh, what it strikes me because every now and then when I do a new video and when I'll pull up a name or the story itself, I'll realize that, wow, this is one of the articles that I've covered years ago. As I said, there's almost 4,000 articles on the Black Brazil Today, blog. And when I first looked at the story, I didn't realize, but I covered this story 7 years ago. It had been 7 years, so I totally forgot about that story. It wasn't until I pulled up the woman's picture and looked into her name, and I'm like, oh wow, I remember that story. So some developments have happened in this story, and I just wanted to share this with my subscribers. This channel was about talking about race, talking about Brazil from a perspective of race, and this fits into that category. So let's get into this for today. She's a horrible monkey. Socialite sentenced to almost 9 years in prison for racial slur against black daughter of actors. Okay. So I'm going to go through this story. For those of you who are not aware of it, there are enough people in Brazil who are talking about it that it's definitely worth discussing because it's so many things come out in a story like this. When you cover certain parts of the story, it leads to another topic. And this is how my videos tend to, pass 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes, under 25 minutes if at all possible. But just to give you an idea of what happened, I want to explore it a little bit. So before I get into this, definitely like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell. With that said, let's get into the story, find out what's going on with this. So she's a horrible monkey. Socialite sentenced to almost 9 years in prison for racial slur against black daughter of actors. Let's see. Actually, she was sentenced to she was given a sentence of 8 years, 9 months, and 13 days in prison. Okay, so the story has to do with this woman here who made some really disgusting comments about this little girl right here. And these are her two parents. I'm going to get into that. Let's just follow the story. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about racial slur. And it often in Brazil, it goes unpunished or people will just get a slap on the wrist. I've seen numerous incidents of white Brazilians completely just humiliating some black person or whatever. And it'd be like, okay, go to the police. That's fine. I'll pay a fine and then I'll walk free. And oftentimes that's exactly what happens. So you say that Brazil is a perfect crime in terms of racism because people who have some funding, who have some money, they feel like they can just say whatever they want to say, call somebody a monkey or something like that, and get away with it. And they say, okay, well, fine, go to the police. That's how they look at it. Like, I'm above the law. You can sue me if you want. I'm gonna pay the fine, and there's nothing that's gonna happen. I have several articles on Black Brazil Today where that actually happened. The other thing that caught my attention is that I had forgot about this story because the story actually is from 2017. It's only now that a court decision has been passed down. It took 7 years for the process to make it through the courts. It's being called the biggest conviction for racism and racial injury in Brazilian history, which speaks a lot. All the years we got a law against racism that goes back to the early 50s, and then there was another law that was enacted like in the late 80s. But in reality, it doesn't really serve any purpose because people are rarely given a really strong fine or sentence in jail, right? That's why it says this is the biggest case in history where somebody was condemned to spend almost 9 years in jail. This case also speaks to what I want to call racial schizophrenia, this mestiça complexity, right? And I'm not dismissing complexity. It is very complex when you're talking about racial classification and identity in Brazil, but it also just shows I've said this from the beginning. Everybody thinks everything is just clear cut. Brazil is not like this. People, it's completely different from how it is in the US. And I'm saying to a degree that's true. But then some of the complexities that you see show that Brazil goes all the way in a circle, does a 180 just to come back where you would assume these things are more likely in the United States. I'm going to explain that a little bit more. It also speaks to this question of what is whiteness? Again, while we argue over what is blackness, I have to ask the question of what is whiteness in Brazil? Because clearly I've put up a number of videos and articles that show, okay, you might call this person white in Brazil, but they're clearly not. In a lot of cases, they're not even white in Brazil, let alone not white in the United States. This goes back to my first trip to Salvador Bahia in Brazil's northeast. I had met this young lady's family, and they were all dark-skinned black people. There was three sisters and two brothers. And the woman told me that, oh, her brother is married to a white woman. But when I got to meet the brother and the wife, and I saw the wife, I'm like, this woman is not white. She was a light-skinned black woman. I mean, I think to me, I think everybody would agree on that. I don't have that picture, but I'm just saying it's the first time it really struck me. Like, what do you mean your white, your brother's married to a white woman? This woman is not white. Then there was another case. I'm sure you all are familiar with Rebecca Andrade, who won the medals in the Paris Olympics recently. She also won medals. I think it was in Tokyo 3 or 4 years ago. So everybody knows who Rebecca Andrade. She was Simone Biles' greatest competitor. And there was a recent product ad, I think it was a TV commercial, where they portrayed her mother as being black, a clearly black woman. And the ad said that people took issue with this because Rebecca's mother is white. And I look at Rebecca's mother and I'm like, she's light skinned, but that woman is not white either. Then there was another case. There's this rapper named Negão da BL, all right, and he defined his wife as white. And people who read the article or heard his comment, they all disagreed. Like, this guy's wife is not white. I mean, they said it was just like, mulher negra de pele clara, which means light-skinned black woman. Then you have, I remember some years ago, there was this picture floating around on Facebook. This was when people were, talking a lot about black men who they call palmiteiros, black men who seem to prefer to date and have serious relationships with white women. And it was three famous black Brazilian males and with their wives. Now, two of them I would have saw as white, but when I looked at, and I've said this before, sometimes when you look at Brazilians, if they're fair skinned, you could look at them as being fair skinned and immediately assume that person is white until you really look at them. And this is what happened when I looked at the wife of Pericles. I'm like, looking at her, I'm like, no, she's clearly not white. But this is something that keeps coming up. For example, this was an article I did some years ago, and this woman here, she said, the only thing she asked God for, she wanted her baby to be born healthy, but above all, the baby has to be white. So then she married this guy right here. And I'm like, how's the baby going to come out white when this guy's not even white? Then you have what I was just talking about. Okay, this is journalist Manuel Soares. And his wife struck me that same way because he even said in an interview that a lot of people, people might think that his wife is white, but he was like, no, my wife is not white. She is a light-skinned black woman. And after I looked at the pictures, I'm like, oh, okay, a couple of these pictures is like pretty clear to me. Like this picture right here. Like, yeah, she's a fair-skinned white. She's a fair-skinned woman, but I would not say that she's white. And Manuel Soares says that. Same thing what I was saying about the Pericles' wife. If you look at this picture right here, and I'm like, that's another case where I would say that this woman is fair-skinned. She's light-skinned, but in what world would she be considered white? I don't even think she's considered white in Brazil. If people really look at her, then here's the case with Rebecca Andrade's mother. So they're arguing that in the commercial for a product, they used a black woman, a clearly black woman to portray Rebecca's mother, who was white. And I'll show you other pictures of Rebecca's mother, and I'm just like, again, this woman is not white. She's fair-skinned, but she's not white, okay? That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? This is why I'm showing the pictures here. And then when I talk about racial schizophrenia, this was an article from 2017. Why are light brown-skinned Pardos or mixed race people of obvious mixed race preaching white supremacy in a neo-Nazi skinheads group in Sao Paulo? And I looked at some of these guys. I'm like, these guys are following the teachings of, say, what we associate with Nazi Germany. But it's like, how are you guys supporting white supremacy, but you're not even white? So I just wanted to give a little background on the story that I'm about to go in. So let's get a little bit more into the story for today. Socialite Dayane Alcântara Couto de Andrade, known as Day McCarthy, was convicted last Wednesday of racial injury and racism against Shisomo, Chi, what they call the young girl Chi. This girl right here, she was 4 years old at the time. She is the daughter of actor Bruno Gagliazzo and Giovanna Eubank. So this is Bruno here, and this is Giovanna. Most Brazilians know who they are. They're popular actors. The court decision defined a sentence of 8 years, 9 months, and 13 days in prison for this socialite. I'm going to show you her picture again. When I was going through this article yesterday, my daughter, who is 9, she looked at the pictures and she says, "Daddy, I'm confused." And I says, "What you confused about?" She was like, "Well, are these?" The picture that I showed her just had the 2 parents and then the daughter. And she says, "Well, she looks black. She's black. How can she have 2 white parents?" I was like, "Okay, that's a good question." And then she answered her own question. She's like, "Is she adopted?" Like, yeah, she's. So Bruno and Giovanna adopted these 2 black kids. They're both from the African nation of Malawi, I think it's called. That's one country in Africa I don't think I can recognize on the map. I know most of the countries, but I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to look on a map to see where the country is located, because honestly, I'm not familiar with where in Africa that country is located. Then the couple also had their own natural child. So these are the 2 adopted African children of this acting couple. They're both an actor and an actress, right? So what's going on here today? This was a post from their Instagram post on the case that finally some justice came down. "Today we come to celebrate a victory against racism, and we know that unfortunately this victory happens because we have visibility and white, and therefore more listened to than the black population that, since being kidnapped for this country, has not stopped screaming and bleeding. It's never too late, but it's still too late." The girl's parents celebrated on Friday the 23rd, which was just a few days ago. This is when I discovered the story. And what they're speaking on is that, okay, we as white people will get more coverage about the racism against our daughter than a black person who has black kids. And they just recognize something like this happened some months ago with the ex-wife of a black Brazilian basketball player, Leandro Barbosa. His ex-wife, who was white, denounced the racism that their children were suffering in a private school in Sao Paulo. And it was just the point that black women celebrities in Brazil have said this, where why is it that white women with black or brown kids get a lot of attention when their kids suffer racism, but when a black woman denouncing this of their kids, it's a lot of people don't even care. That's just something that I've heard a lot of people say over the years. Even in denouncing racism, it seems that white people have a certain advantage in getting more attention to their case. This is definitely, and this is what Bruno and Giovanna are actually acknowledging here. So this is the article I did in 2017, December. It says here, Macaca Preta. She called this Brazilian woman, I think she either lives in the United States or Canada. She was just very insensitive. She made some really disparaging remarks about a 4-year-old girl. Like, what's going on in your head that you're going to say such things about a little black girl, a 4-year-old girl? This was the article from, like I said, it's been almost 7 years now. Brazilian living in Canada calls acting couple's black daughter a monkey with horrible hair. Says she has also been a victim of racism. This is what I'm saying about what's so funny to me about this case. In 2017, when Chi, the little black girl, was just 4 years old, Dave McCarthy offended her with racist words, calling her a horrible monkey. The girl is black. She has hair that looks like a spike of straw and a black nose. Horrible. And people think she's beautiful. So these same people come to criticize me on my Instagram for my appearance, she said. So this is what's crazy about this woman. She says, after people started coming at her for attacking a 4-year-old girl, then she says, "I'm also black." Okay. As it turns out, she says that her father is black, and she says that she's gone through, and I'm gonna go on with this story, but she says that she's been a victim of racism herself. So I'm trying to understand the logic here, unless this person is a little bit off. But I'm like, okay, You've experienced racism in your life, but you in turn want to insult a 4-year-old black girl? Make that make sense for me. How do you go and claim that you've been a target of racism yourself through your whole life, but then you're going to say some really vicious, unnecessary comments about a 4-year-old girl? Anyway, during the lawsuit, the Socialite's defense alleged that McCarthy also suffered from racist comments about her physical appearance on social networks, and therefore she would have acted on impulse by insulting Chichi or Chisomo, the couple's now 11-year-old daughter. However, federal judge Ian Legay Vermelho stated that the intent to offend the girl was crystal clear. This information is from CNN Brazil. Day McCarthy, this woman here, receives the biggest sentence in the history of Brazil for racial slur, what they call injuria racial, racial injury, which you can basically call a racial slur. Okay. Even if the defendant is a victim of the same prejudices and discrimination, this fact, although it seems as a plausible reason for the revolt, does not authorize her to continue reproducing the same offensive words against third parties, added the magistrate, which is my point exactly. How insensitive is that? How does that make sense that you say you suffer racism on your own, but then you are just spitting just racist insults toward a 4-year-old girl? This is the lawyer, Juliana Souza Oris, the couple's lawyer, said this was the biggest conviction for racism and racial injury in Brazilian history, which it very well may be. As I've said, I've seen numerous cases over the years where people just they insult a black person and they walk away either scot-free, nothing ever happens to them, or they get a slap on the wrist with a small fine, maybe a couple of thousand, a couple hundred reais or whatever, but nothing really gets done. Andrade, again, this lady here, so she uses the name Day McCarthy apparently to sound. A lot of people from Latin America will change their names to, I don't know, maybe try to be accepted in the English-speaking world. So Andrade, aka Day McCarthy, is Brazilian and a naturalized American. On her official website, she calls herself a socialite with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from New York Film Academy. She studied at Harvard and went on to study business and management at George Washington University. The biography available on the page explains that Day has a company operating in the United States and Europe. She is also a writer with 4 books published. So again, her name is Dayane Alcântara Couto de Andrade. So you see, she actually just shortened her name from Dayane to Day in Portuguese, which we would say is Day. So she calls herself Day McCarthy. And let's see, in a court statement, she says that she suffers racism every day. Now, the other thing I want to point out about that is, if she says she suffers racism every day, this is a question that I have, because this is an ongoing discussion in Brazil about don't label mixed people as black. Now, the woman says that her father is black, and I can see her. I mean, to me, she looks like a light-skinned black woman. And people who are arguing for one side or the other don't just necessarily define mixed people as black. And my argument has always been, if a person is mixed and they suffer discrimination, they're not suffering discrimination due to their European ancestry or European appearance. They're suffering racism due to their non-European appearance. So the reason why this woman is not just white is because she's mixed with a black male. So this is what I'm not saying all mixed brown Pardo people in Brazil should be categorized as black, but there are some people, and this goes to show if she's suffering racism for the way that she looks, it tells me that Brazilians know blackness when they see it. Although they'll see, this is the thing. What I notice is that people will be mestizos or even close to white while everything is good. But when racism comes out and people insult them, they're insulting you because of your black side, not because of your white side. So people can go on and say that these people are mixed, but I'm just saying, in the world, if the world is based on a standard of whiteness and people come up short from being white, they're being judged on their non-European ancestry. So what does that tell you? This woman herself, she says, "Eu sou negra, eu também sou negra. I'm also a black woman." This is, it's a crazy case. When I hear this, it's like, I don't know. Does she really define herself as a black woman, or did she just throw that? I see it a lot of times. People will play this card where somebody accuses them of being racism, and or in order to deflect racism against them, they'll say, oh, I have a grandfather or grandmother that's black. Oh, my mother is black. My father is black. Oh, I'm black. So how can I be racist? Which is the whole point. Again, sometimes it's, to me, it's kind of a, how can I say, it's a smoke and mirror. It's a screen. Because if this woman is suffering racism again, does she really belong in just a mixed category, or should she belong in the black category? I can see a little bit of both here. But if you're suffering racism, it's not because you're part white. That's the whole point, you know, whenever I bring this topic up. Regarding the video in which she used racist terms to refer to the daughter of the actors, the socialite said in an interrogation that she did not make the video in order to offend anyone. You call a 4-year-old black girl a horrible monkey with straw hair, but you didn't mean to offend anyone. Make that make sense. That her father is black and that she is the daughter of black people and that she has black features. That since her entire childhood, she has suffered racism, that people think she is white, but that she is not, and that she will explain. Really confusing. She says people think that she is white, but that she is not. If people think she is white, how does she suffer racism? That's what's really confusing about this whole story. I've seen people of mixed race experience discrimination in Brazil. It happens all the time. So how is it that she can be seen as white, but suffer racism at the same time? That tells me that people don't see you as white. Make it make sense. I see this kind of story all the time. It's like what we'll call the Negro wake-up call. Like, all this time you thought you were white. I've known several people in Sao Paulo when I lived there. Like, this woman really thinks she's white with those features that, yeah, she has fair skin, but her features say clearly she has African ancestry. It's not for me to tell somebody you ain't white. You know how people deal with this. I am sharing my opinion. But if I know somebody personally and they see themselves as white, I'm not going to question that. I did that once. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I just, you know, let people live the way they live. And I just say that one day they may get their Negro wake-up call, and that's going to hit them like, wow, maybe I'm not white, because that's happened a lot of times in Brazil as well. Anyway, Dayane's defense told the court that she always suffers from racist comments about her physical appearance on social media and therefore felt angry and decided to record the content. However, the video would have been disseminated on other social networks and spread all over the internet, taking on great proportions. So she was discriminated against because of what she looks like. So she goes to the internet to lash out at somebody else. Now, this is where the problem comes in when we talk about mixed race people of African ancestry, because oftentimes, because of the colorism issue, they'll play a certain privilege because they have much lighter skin than the clearly black person. So it'd be intriguing. Somebody should actually do an interview with this woman before she goes off to jail, because I'm just kind of curious. You know, it's always fascinating to me, the cards that get played in Brazil. I'm not racist. You know, I'm black too. I'm not racist. My grandfather was black. I would love to sit down with this woman and just have a conversation, see where she's coming from. It's just very confusing, some of the things that she's saying here. Anyway, the defense's allegations were not accepted by the federal judge. Ian Legay Vermelho. You're not right, said the magistrate in his ruling. According to the magistrate's understanding, the intention to offend the girl is crystal clear. That's absolutely true. There is no semantic elasticity that allows relativizing the manifestly hostile, aggressive, injurious content directed at the victim, propagator of violence against her quality as a black individual solely because of such quality. Obviously, the fact that the accused has suffered from racist offenses caused by third parties does not guarantee her the right to offend the honor of individuals not involved in the discussion, even if imbued with fits of anger, as the defense adds, for being an impulsive person, the judge wrote. Basically, he's saying there's no excuse for the things you said about this little girl. Like, you know, what's wrong with you? The magistrate added that the defense's argument that the video had been published only in a closed WhatsApp group does not exclude her from criminal liability. So this is Giovanna Eubank with the young girl who was insulted, or they call her Chi. Okay. On the contrary, precisely because it contained numerous and unknown members, the actual size of the group was not specified by the defendant in her interrogation and was linked to the World Wide Web. This group was a platform in which publishing offensive messages to third parties implied, at the very least, the assumption of the risk that such conduct would produce the result that it did, namely the wide repercussion of the attack directed at the victim, who was 4 years old at the time. The judge added, even if the defendant is a victim of the same prejudice and discrimination, this fact, although it appears as a plausible reason for her anger, does not authorize her to continue reproducing the same offensive words against others. Okay, so this is the post coming from Bruno Gagliasso. Him and his wife are claiming this as a victory, because, and let's be clear, this wasn't the first time that their daughter was the topic of racist comments on social networks coming from Brazilians. This has happened often over the years. So then this is their Instagram post. Today, we come to celebrate a victory against racism, and we know that unfortunately this victory happens because we have visibility and we're white and therefore more listened to than the Black population that, since being kidnapped for this country, has not stopped screaming and bleeding. It's never too late, but it's still too late. When our daughter, Chisomo, was only 4 years old in 2017, she was the first target of racism. Chi, as you know, didn't even know that she could be a victim like every other Black child. The crime came from a eugenicist woman who found on the internet the perfect environment to utter heinous violence. Here, sometimes the world seems to go backwards with attacks on minorities growing in an unconscionable way. Did we give the idiots a voice? Even with all of our privileges, the road was long. It was only in May of 2021 that we were able to file a report. And only last Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, 7 years later, did the federal court of Rio de Janeiro issue an unprecedented decision condemning the author of the crimes for racial injury and racism. The penalty, 8 years and 9 months in prison with a closed regime. One other thing I want to point out about this, even though, the woman who did this should have been condemned, but I find it intriguing that this has been the biggest conviction of a racial slur, biggest conviction of a person uttering racial slurs in the history of Brazil. This woman is going to jail for almost 9 years, but I find it intriguing that it is a non-white woman who is getting the biggest conviction. How is it? Okay, this woman is, you call her mixed. You could say she's Black. You could just say she's a light-skinned Black woman. But this woman who gets the biggest conviction in history for a racial slur is going to jail, and she's not even white. Brazil is really funny to me in that way. Let me continue just to finish off what they wrote on their Instagram. This is the first time that in response to racism, Brazil condemns a person to prison in a closed regime. Yes, in 2024, this is still the first time. Although it's late, it's historic. Criminal law says that little can be done by reversing the sentence. At most, it's reduction. And so we hope and will remain confident in justice, as we have been struggling for years to understand that this victory is not ours, but our daughters, collective, and an entire communities. We remain confident in the consistent action of the judiciary to ensure that crimes of racism are duly recognized and punished. We also praise the Attorney General's Office of the Republic of Rio de Janeiro for its firm and combative action. And we are grateful to Attorney Juliana Souza Oris and her team, who never let us down. As parents, we are thrilled and thankful. The public commotion was fundamental to this advance. We have nothing more to declare, but we will remain vigilant because racism is far from over. So this is what Bruno and Giovanna posted when they heard the news that the woman who uttered these slurs toward their 4-year-old daughter was convicted for almost 9 years, a 9-year sentence. So anyway, just so much that can be said about this news, not only because of the racial slur and the justice that they sought, but also just because of the racial ramifications about how people see race in Brazil. There's a lot of confusion and what I'm gonna call like racial schizophrenia for a woman to react the way that she did. And then, turn around and say, I didn't mean it to be racist. I didn't intend on, offending anybody. And I'm also Black. There's so much going on there. Anyway, curious to know what you all thought about today's article, today's video. Definitely drop a comment in the comment section, like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel, click on the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here. Request that you all come back, check out the next video that I post.